So this video is following up the last video, which was Supreme Commander Forged Alliance Tips, Part 1. And so now we selected a group of transports. We had them assist the factory. I gave the factory a rally point over here, and so all of the transports have delivered these units over here. And so now the question is, what happens if I have my army over here and I need to get it someplace else? I know how to have transports efficiently move them when I'm building them, but now that they're in the field, what do I do? So the most obvious thing is you would select your one transport, or your one unit, and then you would click on the transport, and the transport will come and it will pick up that unit, and then you can give the transport a move order and have it move, or more efficiently you could tell it to transport and click somewhere and it'll automatically fly there, and once it gets there, deposit the unit. But this transport can only carry so many units, so I can't select this whole group and have them get onto this transport. 5 of them will be able to get on, and then everybody else will just be sitting there waiting. So in order to move them that way, that'd be a lot of micromanagement. So what the game has given us is this thing called the Ferry command. So you come down here, click Ferry, and then click anywhere on the map that you want your unit, where you want your units to go. And if you hit the Shift key, what you'll see is it shows you the ferry point, so that way you can make sure you did it. The only indicators are this icon and the icon on the, well, it's basically this icon. I don't think there's an icon on the other side. And so now what happens is if I select this unit and I click on the ferry icon, so not the transport, but this little square that's underneath it, then what happens is he goes to that point, he gets picked up, and then that transport will automatically fly him to this point, to this location where the ferry was told to go, drop off that unit, and then fly back over here to the beginning of the ferry point and wait for new units to come. And if you zoom in on it now and you hit the Shift key, you can actually see, you've got these arrows, and this is letting you know that the transport is currently carrying somebody and will be coming back. So that it's neat that it gives you some feedback on that. Now the ferry point gets placed underneath whatever units were selected when it was assigned. So if it was one unit, it will be directly underneath them, and when that transport comes back, he'll land right on top of this. If you have multiple transports, then what's going to happen is that ferry point is going to be basically in the middle of that group. And sometimes it can be hard to find. That's why using the Shift key to highlight where the ferry is will help you find it. So now one of the cool things you can do, this is where the tip part comes in, with the ferry, is the ferry point basically goes from where the transport was to where you tell it to go. So see, he just dropped him off and he's going. But one of the unique behaviors is if your units are not close to the transports, then transports will go and pick them up. So what you can do is I'll set a ferry point with this group here, and I will put it there. And so you'll see the little icon popped up here. And now I will go and I will select all of these remaining tanks, and I will click on the ferry icon there. And so what you see is now we've got 6 transports going. It'll take 6 transports to move the 19 land scouts, the 10 medium tanks, and the heavy assault bot. So they will fly over here, and if you come and look, all of our tanks have kind of arranged themselves conveniently into nice little groupings to be picked up by the transports. So they're just going to sit here and they'll wait until their ride gets here. And so what you can do is you can set your ferry point, the start of your ferry point, in a protected location, you know, kind of this back corner of my base, where it's less likely that they'll just get wiped out instead of having them sit out in the world somewhere waiting to be attacked. So that's kind of a helpful little tip for that. That's going to take a while, so we will go on to control groupings. So, you know, you all know if you select a bunch of units, you hit control and a number key, those units will be assigned to a control group that you can then later access by just pressing that number key. So what you can do, you can put your, let me put that there, you can put your factories and add them to a control group. And then what happens is that any units that get built, so this goes faster, any unit that gets built out of that factory will automatically come out of that factory as a member of that control group. Now that's everything. That's combat units and engineers. And what you'll notice is these tanks that are coming from these two assisting factories are not part of that control group. I think that's, you know, kind of an oversight on in the program, but you know, whatever. So how would you address that? Well, one thing you can do is you could add the other two factories to the control group, you might say. And let me click this guy and put him here so we don't get confused. So now I hit 1 and I say, alright, build me 10 tanks. And now the tanks come out from all the factories, and they're all part of control group 1. And if I go and check on my progress, this says he's got 8 tanks left to build, but we've already built more than that. What's happened is when you selected the tanks, and here comes my ferry route. I love those shadows; those are very useful in battle. So what's happened is now you put all of these factories as part of control group 1. When you give it that order to build tanks, each factory got that order. So these two aren't assisting them, they're building their own set of 10 tanks. And so that's why their 10 tanks are coming out here, his 10 tanks are coming out here at this rally point, because each factory has its own rally point when it's building its own things. So, you know, maybe you could find a way to make that work. It doesn't really jive well with my play style, so I don't typically assign factories to control groups, but you know, to each their own. Now you might, so if you do that, if you do select that, I select 1. If I just click 1, it'll pick all of the tanks from that control group, and it doesn't pick the factories. But if you hit Control Shift 1, then it will pick the factories in the control group, or that are connected to that control group. So that, you know, can be an easy way to select them. And you can find that again if you hit F1, the key binding list pops up, and you can scroll through, and that's down here somewhere. There it is. Control Shift, select only factories. But like I said, that's not really my playstyle. If you want to be able to quickly pick factories, you can hit the idle unit selector over here. So it does it for engineers, and it does it for factories as well. So right now what this is telling me is I have a Tech 3 land factory, one of them, that has no orders. This would be for Tech 2, and this would be Tech 1, and it also is telling me that there is a Tech 1 air factory that has no orders. Now you look and you say, well, I see 3 Tech 3 factories that aren't doing anything. Well, they're not idle because these two are still assigned to assist him. So their orders are to wait for him to build something and then help him build it. So that's why they aren't idle. But you can quickly select that factory by just clicking on this icon. And same thing here with your engineers. If you hit the period key, it'll cycle through all of your idle engineers. But if you want a little bit more control over what you're selecting, say, you know, I want to build a Tech 3 power generator, so I need a Tech 3 unit, that's what this shows you. And this shows that there are that there is one Tech 3 engineer who isn't doing anything right now, and I have two Tech 1 engineers that are similarly not doing anything right now. So I tend to use, these to kind of get access to my factories as opposed to putting them in control grouping. But that's up to you. So last and not least, that brings us to ACU upgrades. So if you come down here to enhancements, there's 3 slots, the back, which is the default right arm, left arm. And so you can put an enhancement on each one of those. And so that's why my ACU does not look like it does normally, because I've upgraded all of his slots. So what's right on there right now is a nuclear missile upgrade. So first you have to build a tactical missile launcher, and then once that's built, you can upgrade that to a nuclear missile launcher. Now, if you build a nuclear missile launcher, the structure, which is, Tech 3, the strategic missile launcher, if I was to build that, I can hit anywhere on the map. This map is 20 kilometers by 20 kilometers, and I could build it here and launch a missile to there, no problem. But when you have a nuclear missile launcher on your ACU, you zoom out, it'll show you that there's a circle here, and this is the range that the ACU can fire that nuclear missile. So if you say, we'll put this here. Oh, here's another trick. For anything that fires missiles, if you track it, when it launches that missile or that projectile, it'll actually follow that. So mobile artilleries, mobile missile launchers will do this. So anyway, I will launch the missile down here so we can actually see it hit. And you'll zoom in, you notice my ACU starts moving. So he's going to automatically move into position. Unlike some games when you say, hey, fire this, if it's out of range, it just says I can't do it. The ACU will actually move into range and launch that missile. When you build the tactical missile launcher and the nuclear missile launcher on the upgrade, you also have to remember to come over here and right-click this button. This is the auto build button, and it's not on by default. So you will make that upgrade. Kaboom. So you will make that upgrade, but it will not automatically start building missiles unless you tell it to. Whereas, so I guess that is like the ground-based missile launchers, but not the ground-based missile defenses. So that's that one. That's the missile launcher. Now the big thing here is that you can only have one upgrade in each slot. So let's move my ACU back up here and make sure he gets all the assist help that he can do. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to build the personal teleporter, and that'll take some time. So while that's going on, we can talk about some of the other upgrades. So like I said, you can only have one upgrade in each slot. So when I say I want to build a personal teleporter, it says, well, we're going to have to destroy what you've already got to put it in there. So you click OK, and it starts building. Some of the other options are the shoulder drone. So if you select this one, you'll basically get one of these little flying drones that will help assist your ACU when it's building something. And then if you upgrade that, and you'd get 2 of them, right? And so that would increase the build rate that your ACU can do when building things. Now that works well in conjunction with a left arm and a right arm upgrade. The left arm upgrade, your options are you can have an amplifier that increases the damage on your ACU's main weapon, or you can have this resource allocation system, and what that does is that'll increase the resources that your ACU generates. When you first start the game, your ACU is not upgraded. It generates 1 mass and 20 energy per second. When you do this upgrade, that gives you an additional 14 mass per second and an additional 3,300 energy per second. So that could be useful if, whatever reason your base is getting knocked down, you make those upgrades, and that allows you to rebuild faster. And you can rebuild faster because if you go to the left arm, one of the options is the engineering suite upgrades. So if you select the engineering suite, you have to do Tech 2 first and then upgrade that to Tech 3. But when you do that, it basically allows your ACU to build everything. So if you do the Tech 2, your ACU can build all the Tech 2 and everything in Tech 1. Not upgraded, your ACU cannot build everything in Tech 1. It can't build radar systems, for example. And if you upgrade it to Tech 3, then you get Tech 3, everything in Tech 3 and below, plus the ability to build the experimental units. So, increased resource generation and engineering drones can actually make your ACU its own little portable building dynamo. The other option for that left arm is the nano repair system. It'll, like it says, it'll increase the regeneration rate of your ACU. Your ACU already has regeneration, so if you can keep it from getting shot, it'll eventually build itself back up to full health. But if it's a hostile, very hostile environment, you might want that to happen faster rather than later. So that's what that upgrade is for. Going back to the back before we demonstrate the teleporter, the last thing is the personal shield generator. So this is a Tech 3 heavy assault bot, and if you look at it, you see how it kind of shimmers blue. So that is the personal shield. It's a shield that basically covers about an inch away from the outer shell of that unit and only is shielding itself. If you upgrade it, then, which is this button here, if you upgrade it, then it creates a little mini shield dome like this mobile shield generator is doing. And so, if you have a structure that you want to defend, if you've got the shields on, you could park your ACU right next to it, and then it'll, not only will it have a shield, but it'll also shoot at anybody that's attacking it. So, with these upgrades, you can kind of make your ACU a little bit more useful on the battlefield, especially if you're fighting against Tech 2, Tech 3 units. So our teleporter upgrade is done, and so that gives us this little button down here, the teleport. It used to be the nuclear missile launch symbol, but now it's the teleport. So what you can do is if you select that, and then you can click anywhere on the map. So we'll just click here, and it'll start tracking it. Your ACU hasn't moved yet because it has to charge the teleporter. So that takes 5 to 10 seconds, and while it's doing that, that takes 10,000 energy to do. And bam, we just got transported to the other side of the map. And there is no delay on how soon you can reuse that teleporter. So we just teleported. As soon as it charges up, another 5-10 seconds, 10,000 energy, you'll be ready to go. Oop. Like that. So, if you find yourself in a nuclear missile shooting match, and you think they're targeting your ACU, you can use this upgrade to quickly move your ACU out of harm's way. And then with some of the other upgrades, you could build a whole new satellite base and kind of use that strategy, that technique to kind of survive that. The caveat about that is the teleporter takes a lot to build. It takes a lot to power. You need 10,000 energy just to charge the thing up after you build it. This, I can't even count how many zeros that is. That's 1, 2. It's like 1.5 million energy to build the thing in the first place. So if you have sufficient resources, it can be a great upgrade. It could be a great upgrade. You just have to decide how that works with your playstyle. So that's everything that I can think of. If I come across anything else, I'll make another video and upload it. Hope this helps.